This episode contains adult themes and adult language. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Bold and Beautiful podcast. I'm your host Amanda, and I've titled this week's episode,
Let's get ready to rumble!
The fight we've all been waiting for has finally arrived, and it was awesome. I loved it. I was very, very proud of Liam. I'm super excited to do this episode because the truth is finally out. Okay guys, I'm excited to get into this, so let's go ahead and get into our messages. We have a message from Chelsea S. She says she was thinking after she heard the episode that totally 100% Flo and Zoe need to worry about Steffy getting wild on them over Hope and Liam. I totally agree. I know Liam is mad, but they are forgiving people. Steffy, on the other hand, watch your back, girls. And she would also like to give a it's about damn time to Hope and Liam for using the lock on the door. For once. So true, Chelsea, so true. I agree with all of that. I would hate to have to suffer Steffy's wrath. I would much rather have to face Hope and Liam than Steffy. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for your message. I love to hear from you. Next, I want to read some comments that I got on Instagram. I posted a photo of Wyatt and Flo, and I put on the photo, "Will Wyatt forgive Flo?" This is what you guys had to say about that. Simply Precious 22 simply says no. Next, we have a message from Ken. Everyone knows Ken. Ken says he shouldn't. She did way worse than Sally. Sally is a great fit for him. I kind of want him with Katie, but Flo needs to go. Flo should have told the truth about baby Beth, period. Couldn't agree more, Ken. Couldn't agree more. Our next message comes from Trish Lynn S. If he does, that's proof that Sally's secret wasn't the real reason he broke it off with her. And proof he just wanted an excuse to lay with another woman. Flo. Pathetic man if so. Exactly. That is the question I'm wondering myself. Trish also says, I've always thought his reasoning for breaking things off with Sally, for basically keeping a promise to a friend, was pretty pathetic anyway. Seemed like an excuse, but I figured it was just because the writers wanted to make another pairing. Sally and Wyatt were so good on screen, as far as chemistry goes anyway. Hated when they broke them off. I agree. They definitely had chemistry. Janet M564 says that she's not sure. Ethel W51 says he better not. And Roshan 22, I hope I'm saying that right. Roshan says, hell no. I think he is going back with Sally. That's all the messages I have for this week. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for taking the time to write me messages and comments. I really appreciate each and every one of them. I love to hear what you guys think, so keep them coming. Alright guys, I don't have any news for this week. All I saw were spoilers. So enough with the chit chat, let's get to the recap. So that brings us into Monday, the 5th. The show opens at Forrester, but we're going to start at Steffy's. Over at Steffy's with Steffy and Ridge, Steffy tells Ridge that this whole Phoebe is Beth stuff is crazy. And Flo will definitely clear this all up. Oh yeah, she will, alright. She will. So Steffy tells Ridge that Liam was shattered when they lost Beth. And that's why he so desperately wants to believe this crazy Phoebe is Beth thing. Ridge tries to assure her, and he's like, you know what? Don't worry. It'll all be okay. Liam just needs to figure this out. Beth is gone, and Phoebe is here with you. And that's the truth. Steffy's head knows that's true, but her stomach is in knots. Ridge wants Liam to face the facts that Beth is gone. So they chit-chat and then Ridge leaves. Steffy knows in her gut that it's true and something's wrong, but her head refuses to believe it. Meanwhile, over at Wyatt, with Wyatt and Flo, Wyatt is in shock. He can't believe Flo would do such a thing and then lie to him all this time. He wants to know how she could do such a horrible thing and lie to all of their faces all these months. How? That is the question, is it not? That is the same question that I've been asking for 8 months. It is, because I don't understand how she did it either. So Flo tries to explain her side of it. And basically it's what we've been hearing this whole time. She tried to tell Hope, but everyone kept stopping her. They told her she would ruin everything. Blah, blah, blah. She would have to go to jail, and she didn't want to go to jail, and she would lose everything, and she would lose Wyatt. And something that I thought was really funny is Wyatt tells her, keep trying, because none of your explanations are good enough. So then she tells him about Thomas and his threats on her life, and she was so scared. Oh, poor Flo. Not. She begs Wyatt to forgive her, and he straight up tells her, you should have told me. If you really loved me, you would have told me. And my husband goes, exactly. That is exactly right. He tells her that he just can't wrap his brain around what she did. And he can't believe that he saw a life with her. So Flo then tries to say, look, I can prove to you that you can trust me again. And his face was priceless because he's like, how? Like, seriously? I don't see how. Then Flo says that she's really glad the truth is out because she can finally breathe again. And Wyatt looks at her with this look, and he just says basically that the person standing in front of him is not the person he loves. Then he tells her exactly what I've said all along. Okay, you guys are my witnesses. I said this for months and months about Flo and Thomas. If Flo would have just told everyone, she would have been the hero. Same for Thomas. When Thomas found out, he would have been the hero. And she basically couldn't stand the thought of losing Wyatt. That's just what it comes down to. She was scared to lose Wyatt and her new life and her new job and her new family. But she's ready to face the consequences because all that matters now is that Hope gets her baby back. Now we head over to Forrester Creations with Liam and Hope and Thomas. Thomas is banging on the door and he's screaming and yelling and he's being crazy. And Liam is telling Hope not to listen to Thomas because he knew about Beth. Beth is alive. Thomas is livid. He is so pissed. He's trying to break into the office. And Liam tells Hope again that Phoebe is Beth. But Hope is in complete shock. She doesn't know what to do, what to believe, what to say. Then Thomas breaks through the door. And he is pissed. And Thomas walks in and he pushes Liam. And Liam flies against the desk. And Liam says, you're a lying son of a bitch. So Hope grabs Thomas's face and looks into his eyes, and she asks, "Is it true?" Thomas doesn't answer her. Instead, he screams at Liam to back off. And Liam says, "See, he's not denying it. He's been manipulating you this whole time." Then Thomas calls Liam a lying son of a bitch. And Liam says, "Tell that to your son." Then Thomas punches Liam really hard in the face, and he falls down and he's knocked out. This was so good, guys. It was so exciting. Next, Thomas grabs Hope and drags her out of the office onto the balcony. And he's crying. And he doesn't want to lose her. And he loves her. And Hope says, "This isn't love." So Thomas tries to convince her that Liam is lying. And Hope backs away from him. And she says, "Who are you?" Then he grabs her and he puts his forehead on hers. And he says how sorry he is. And he is really scaring the crap out of Hope. She is scared. And Hope says, "If you love me, you will tell me the truth." And this really angers Thomas. Like, he gets really, really angry and says, "Forget about Beth and forget about Liam." And right as he says it, Liam comes up from the side and punches Thomas in the face. And Thomas falls down. Then Thomas sweeps Liam's legs out from underneath him, and Liam falls down. And Hope's in the background screaming, but then the fight really starts. And they're punching back and forth. And they're up against the edge of the balcony, and I just knew someone was going over. It was making me nervous. And they continue to fight. Finally, Thomas is on top of Liam, and Hope grabs his arm and she begs him to stop. So Thomas jumps up and he runs off. He runs straight to the door to the roof and leaves. Hope and Liam jump up and run after him. So they end up on the very top of the roof, and Thomas is looking for the helicopter, and he's got his phone and he's talking to the pilot asking where the hell he is. Then Liam runs up. This was so awesome. Liam runs up and football tackles him to the ground. It was amazing. By the way, the backdrop was breathtaking. This scene was shot brilliantly. It was absolutely beautiful. So Liam gets Thomas in a chokehold, and he forces him to tell Hope the truth. But he doesn't have to actually say a word, because his face says it all. And Hope is in shock. Then Thomas elbows Liam in the side and takes off running to get away. Poor Hope. She starts crying, and she says, "But I held her. She was dead. She was gone." And Hope is so happy. She's crying tears of joy. And Liam makes a point to tell her that Steffy didn't know. But now they can have their family back. And she's so overwhelmed. She almost falls down or faints. I wasn't quite sure, but she's so overwhelmed she almost falls, and Liam catches her. It was such a beautiful moment. The backdrop, the scene in general, the truth, just the whole thing, her joy, the sun was setting behind them. It was just absolutely beautiful. And I was not disappointed. And we finally got our Liam and Thomas fight. So Liam has Hope in his arms, and you see the sunset behind them, and that's how Monday ends. So that brings us into Tuesday. The show opens on the roof at Forrester with Liam and Hope, and they are crying tears of joy. And Liam tells her that Douglas was right. Everything he said was true. And then they agree to go see their daughter together. Over at Brooke's house with Brooke and Ridge, Ridge is telling Brooke that he's really worried about Liam, because Liam thinks that Flo may not be Phoebe's birth mother. So he explains that there's a mix-up with a birth certificate. And Brooke comments that she trusts Liam's instincts. If he thinks something's wrong, then something's probably wrong. Then Brooke tells Ridge about how strange it was that Shauna didn't even know Flo was pregnant, considering how close they are. Then, after a lot of beating around the bush, Ridge finally tells Brooke the main thing. That Douglas said Phoebe is Beth. And Liam believes Beth is alive. And Brooke is like, say what now? What? And Ridge thinks that Liam is having a mental break. He's having a breakdown. And that everyone was so focused on Hope that no one really paid attention to Liam's grief. Brooke is shocked because she wants to go see Flo and get answers. Now we head over to Forrester with Shauna and Flo. Flo is packing up all her stuff so she can get out of there. And Flo tells Shauna that it's over. Everyone knows the truth. And her mom is really scared for her. She's scared she's going to go to jail. And Flo tells her that her conversation with Wyatt did not go so well. And that she has lost everything. And they are all going to hate her. Truth. That is very true. Shauna wants Flo to blame her and say it was her fault. And she also wants Flo to leave and make a run for it. But Flo doesn't want to do that. And as they're, kind of arguing or discussing that topic, Brooke and Ridge walk in and they immediately start asking questions. By the way, this scene was amazing. Catherine Kelly Lang killed it. So Brooke demands to know the truth right now. Did she give birth to Phoebe? You tell me right now, damn it. That's what she said. Then Flo admits she's never had a child and that Hope is the real mother. And Ridge and Brooke are shocked and extremely angry. Over at Steffy's with Hope and Liam, Hope is really nervous and overwhelmed to hold her daughter for the first time. So Liam brings Beth to her. And she's so happy to be holding Beth in her arms, and they are both just elated. Hope tells Beth that they are going to start over because Mommy is here now. Then it was so cute because Beth says, Mama, Mama, Mama. It was so sweet. It was like right on time. So Hope assures Beth that they are a family and they will never let her go ever again. Then Liam kisses Beth. And then he kisses Hope. It was so sweet. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I loved it. And that's how Tuesday ends. The whole time as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Steffi's going to walk in any minute and this is going to be bad. But of course, they drag it out. And so Steffy does not walk in yet. Now we head into Wednesday. We are going to start at Forrester with Brooke, Ridge, Shauna, Flo, and Zoe. So Brooke goes off on Flo and Shauna. She tells Shauna to shut it. There's no saving them now. And Ridge asks again if Phoebe is really Beth. And again, Flo says yes. And I have to say, Catherine Kelly Lang's performance was amazing. Amazing. Emmy worthy. Amazing. Ridge also was really, really good in these scenes. I loved it when Brooke went after them, as I was like, yes. So Ridge wants to know how this happened. He wants an explanation. And right as Flo says it was Dr. Buckingham, Zoe walks in. And I'm like, oh yes, get her, Brooke. So they tell her they found out the truth. And that bitch Zoe tries to deny it. And I'm like, seriously? Seriously? There's your answer, guys. She's confronted. It's obvious the truth is out and she's still gonna deny it. So she feels so bad for Hope, right? Yeah, right. So Brooke says that there will be no more messing with her daughter's life. Then she tells them there's no excuse for keeping the secret from Hope. And Flo, oh, I was scared. And Brooke is like, not an excuse. And I was like, exactly. Thank you. What about you, Zoe? And Shauna? Wasn't anyone going to tell Hope the truth? And Flo says she makes the mistake of saying, well, it's over now because Hope has her baby back. Well, this really pisses Ridge off. And he's like, what do you mean? It's not over for Steffy. She is going to be heartbroken. Then Flo tells them that Taylor did not know the truth. And they start explaining everything that Reese did at the clinic. And Brooke and Ridge are horrified. Absolutely horrified. And Zoe starts crying and telling them how sorry she is and how her father feels horrible. And Ridge promises them that they will pay for hurting Hope and Steffy. And then I loved this because Brooke looks at them and she's like, you, all of you, shamelessly and willfully participated in a vicious crime against my daughter. Then she asked the question that I've been asking myself for months. How could they look Hope in the face and lie to her about her baby? That's a good question. I'd like to know the answer to that too. So Ridge makes a call to try to find Reese and get him arrested. And Zoe begs them to have mercy on her father. But there's no mercy here. Oh no. And I loved this part because Brooke looks at her and she's like, you know what? I'll show him the same amount of mercy that you showed Hope and Beth. And I'm like, yes! So then Shauna starts begging them to show mercy on Flo and arrest her instead. And I loved this part because Brooke goes, oh, don't worry. You're all going to pay the consequences, including you. And as mad as Brooke is, she's also so happy that she has her granddaughter back. It's very much mixed emotions. Now we head over to Steffy's house with Hope and Liam. And they are both so happy. And Hope wants to know how this all happened. She needs to know everything and she insists. So Liam explains to her that everything is just so messed up. So he starts telling her what happened. And the more he tells her, the madder she gets. Buckingham sold her baby for money. For gambling money. And she's really getting mad. And then she gets even more angry when she hears the list of all the people who knew. Zoe, Xander, Reese, Flo, Shauna. And then he tells her about Emma. Sorry guys, I'm losing my voice a little bit. So he tells her about Emma and he explains that Thomas was chasing Emma in his car the night that she went off the road. Poor Hope is horrified. And when she finds out that Thomas knew since they annulled their marriage, she is now livid. And then Liam's like, see? He's a sick bastard. That's what I was trying to tell you. And Hope is so thankful. So thankful that Liam got to her in time. Because he saved her and he saved their family. Hope is so impressed that Liam and Douglas figured all this out. And they were both saying how really brave Douglas was to go against his father. And I could not agree more. They start thinking about how all the things over the past few months are all making sense now. Hope is livid at all of those people that would let her suffer. But they agree to deal with them later together. And I cannot wait. I hope Hope walks up to Flo and slaps her in the face. And I hope she does the same thing to Zoe. So Hope tells Beth, welcome to our family. And they both smile and they're so happy. And that's how Wednesday ends. By the way, I said Catherine Kelly Lang did a great job. And Ridge did a great job. I meant Thorsten Kaye. Thorsten Kaye did a marvelous Emmy-worthy job also. So that brings us into Thursday. The show opens at Steffy's with Liam and Hope. And Hope apologizes to Liam for everything. She's mainly referring to Thomas for not listening to him. Then Steffy comes in with Kelly, and Steffy can tell something is wrong because they're acting strange. Now we head over to Forrester Creations with Zoe, Shauna, Brooke, Ridge, and Flo. Zoe is trying to get in touch with her father, and Ridge and Brooke continue to ask questions. They are beyond pissed, and they have every right to be. Shauna tells them that they were all scared. That's why they didn't say anything. And then Brooke informs them that the consequences they were trying so hard to avoid will be way worse now. And I'm like, yes, because you know they deserve it. They deserve what they get. So Brooke tries to call Hope, and Zoe remembers that Hope left her phone at the hotel. And Brooke, I loved this part because Brooke yanked the phone out of Zoe's hand. And I'm like, oh, I love this. I love this. So Brooke calls Liam, and Hope gets on the phone and tells her that they are at Steffy's right now. And Brooke hears Steffy say Phoebe. And so she knows that they haven't told her yet. And Brooke is like, look, you know, it may be a lot harder to walk out that door with Beth than you think. So then Brooke hangs up, and Ridge wants to call the police. But Brooke stops him because they need to decide how to handle the press. Because the minute he calls the cops, press will be everywhere. So Ridge decides he's going to take their license, their driver's license. He takes Shauna's, he takes Flo's, and he takes Zoe's. That way, they can't leave the city by bus, plane, or rental car. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty smart. I don't know that I would have thought of that. So Ridge is really worried about Steffy and Thomas. But Zoe and Flo quickly explain that there's no need to worry about Thomas because he already knows. And he's known for months, by the way. And Brooke is like, wait, excuse me, what? He married my daughter and didn't tell her anything? So then they tell them that Thomas got involved the day of the annulment because of Xander. And they tell them Thomas was threatening their lives. That's why they were scared to say anything. And Ridge doesn't believe them. He's like, they're liars. They're probably lying. And he says Thomas would never do that. So Brooke sees Ridge is really upset, and she's like, you know what? Let's not worry about the details right now. The important thing is the nightmare is over. My daughter gets her baby back. Ridge disagrees because Steffi's nightmare is just beginning. Now we head back over to Steffi's house with Steffy, Liam, and Hope. Steffy insists that Hope put her baby down because she is holding her different, and all her maternal instincts are screaming. Steffy wants to know why Hope is not on her honeymoon. So then Liam explains to Steffy that Phoebe was stolen from her birth mother and that Flo was lying, and she admitted everything. Steffy freaks out and immediately wants to call Carter, but Liam stops her. Steffy is in shock. She is literally sick to her stomach. She wants to know who the birth mother is, and she wants to know if her mother was involved, if her mother knew. And they assure her that Taylor did not know. It took them forever, but they finally tell Steffy that Hope is the mother. And then Hope tells her Phoebe is Beth. And that's how Thursday ends. So that brings us into Friday the 9th. The show opens at Steffi's, but we're going to circle back to that. We are going to start at Forrester with Shauna, Zoe, Flo, Ridge, and Brooke. Brooke can't believe Thomas was a part of this. And of course, Ridge thinks they're lying. He just thinks, you know what, they're liars, they're lying. So Ridge tells Brooke they'll deal with Thomas later. Right now, he's worried about Steffy. Brooke assures him that they will be there for Steffy, absolutely. Then Flo opens her trap again. I don't know why she don't just keep her mouth shut. And she says if she could go back, she would change it. She would absolutely change it. That was the wrong thing to say to Ridge. Thorsten K did such a good job here. It gave me chills, okay? Because Ridge gets super mad and he starts yelling at them, at all of them. He is so angry. You put a baby that didn't belong to you into my daughter's hands and made her raise it as her own. No matter your explanation. That's wrong. You know that, right? That is so hilarious that my voice is going out right on Ridge's part because that's how he sounds when he talks. Then he says, you're messing with people's lives. And then he tears up and he's about to cry. And it's really sad because he's really, really worried about Steffy. He turns to Brooke and he tells her that he's genuinely trying to be happy for her and Hope. But what about Steffy? Because this is not fair. So Ridge and Brooke leave to go see Steffy and Hope. But before they leave, they inform them that they will be turning their license over to the police. They don't have to worry about that. And then all three, Zoe, Shauna, and Flo, they're very, very scared now. And they should be. Now we head across the hall to the side office with Sally and Eric. And Eric is praising Sally for her new designs. And he thinks she's a very valuable addition to the company. He tells her that he can see that she misses Wyatt and that she still loves him. And he's really sorry that it didn't work out. Eric is so perceptive as always and sweet. He's so sweet. He's giving her a pep talk. So he leaves and a few minutes later, none other than Wyatt stops by to see Sally. And I'm like, wow, that took him like less than 12 hours to run back to Sally. So he came by to tell her what happened. First, he apologizes for how he ended things, and he says he was wrong. Then he tells her that him and Flo broke up, and he had to come see her because the only thing he could think about was talking to her. He even admits, looking back on it now, what Sally did was not even that bad. And Sally is very surprised to hear all of this. Very surprised. Alright guys, this is the moment when I had to get tissue. I had to get my tissue out because I was really, really crying. More than usual even. This really got to me. So now we're gonna head to Steffi's house with Liam, Hope, and Steffy. And Steffi's just totally in shock. And she says, what, I adopted Beth? No, that's Phoebe. So Hope is trying to be very gentle and understanding. Like, she don't want to hurt Steffy. And Liam offers to get DNA test, but they know it's true. Everyone admitted it. And Steffy is still in shock. Like, she's not accepting it. She's just totally freaking out. And she can't believe what Reese has done. And Hope says, you know what? It is such a miracle. And she is never letting her daughter go again. And they both, Hope and Liam, both feel that all the things that have happened over the past few months are starting to make sense. And why him and Hope felt an instant connection to the baby. The first time Hope held the baby, she felt a jolt like the baby knew. Or like she knew. And then she crawled up to her at the wedding and called her mama. And Hope says, you know what? I can't wait to take her home. This, oh my gosh, Steffy flips out. And she's like, you're not taking my daughter anywhere. I'm her mother. And I'm like, oh, sweetie, this is so sad. I feel sorry for Steffy because she just cannot accept this information. She cannot accept this news. She starts really, really crying. and breaking down. And she's saying, you can't just take her away from me. You can't take her away from her sister and her mom and her home. We can work this out. So Liam's like, they're still going to be sisters. You don't have to worry about that. And Hope says, are you serious? My daughter was stolen from me. And this was so sad. Steffi's crying and she's like, so you're both gonna steal mine? And Liam feels horrible. He's like tearing up and he's trying to calm everyone down. And Steffi tries to tell them that they need to do what's best for Phoebe. And this makes Hope really, really aggravated. Like, Hope is starting to get aggravated because she's like, her name is Beth. And then she calms down and she's like, you know what? You can be involved as much as you want. And you can even help with the transition. Oh my goodness. When Hope said this, Steffi snapped. She just flipped out. And she's like, I am not a babysitter. I'm her mom. Well, guess what? That triggered Hope now. And Hope's like, well, I'm not your surrogate. So where does this leave us? And now Steffi really starts breaking down. And basically she says, I know you're going through hell, but you've got to understand what you're asking of me. And this was one of my favorite parts because if I were Hope, this is exactly what I would have said. Hope looks her dead in the eyes and says, I'm not asking. Guys, oh my goodness, this was so hard to watch. By the way, I have to say Jacqueline's performance was superb. It was so good. It was Emmy level for sure. It was so good. Her tears, her reactions, it was just amazing. So Steffi is getting kind of desperate now. And she tries to reason with Liam. And she's like, we're a family. You're just going to walk away from that? And he doesn't say anything. So this makes her mad. And she yells at him to say something. For once, say something. Tell her not to take my baby. And Liam basically says, look, we are her parents. But we do know what it's like to have your baby taken away. So we can work out something. We can compromise. And then Hope gives him this look. And she's like, Liam, it's time for the baby to be Beth again. It's time for her to be who she is. Then Ridge and Brooke arrive. And Ridge immediately runs to Steffi and gives her a hug. And he's like, are you okay? And she's like, no, I'm not okay at all. And then, of course, Brooke runs to Hope. And she's just so happy for her daughter, which I totally get. She has every right to be. And Steffi tells Hope, there's no way you're taking my daughter home. Say what now? Excuse me? And that's exactly what Brooke is like, excuse me? And of course, Brooke is happy. And she's like, you know, I know you're excited, Hope. I know you want to take her home. And again, Steffi says, that's not happening. And Brooke just looks at her like, what do you mean? Like, what? She's kind of shocked, I think. And Brooke reminds her that the adoption is not legal. So Steffi is now in a panic. And she's like, well, Phoebe doesn't know that. And they can't just rip her away from the only family she knows. And Hope's like, her name is Beth. So Brooke wants to know, okay, Steffi, so what are you saying? Like, what are you suggesting? So Steffi stops for a minute. And she stares at Hope and the baby. And she finally accepts that Phoebe is Beth. Like, her mind finally catches up to what's really happening. And the next thing she says really, really makes Hope and Brooke angry. Makes them upset for sure. So she tells Hope that they can leave the baby with her. And Hope can be kind of a mother to her. But she can live with Steffi. And Brooke is outraged. She's like, you cannot be serious. You cannot be serious right now. And so Ridge steps in. And he tries to explain, you know, the baby's healthy and happy with Steffi. And this is her home. And then Hope's had enough. She's trying to be nice, but she's had enough. And she says to both of them, this situation is crazy and wrong, but I've been given a second chance with my daughter after months of grief and thinking she was dead. And you're crazy if you think I'm walking out of here without her. I am so thankful for all the care you have given her, but I'm taking my daughter, and don't you dare try to stop me. And that's how Friday ends, on a cliffhanger. So that brings us to the end of the week. Let's do our breakdown and analyze this. First, I'm going to talk about Wyatt. Wyatt took less than a day to run straight back to Sally. Hello. I'm sorry guys, but the way that he's flip-flopping back and forth makes me really question who is he really in love with? Because I'm wondering if he even knows. Even Liam takes some time to think before he flip-flops, like at least a day or two. Don't get me wrong, I love Sally, but she shouldn't be anyone's second choice or backup plan. I do love that Wyatt apologized and admitted he was wrong and he overreacted. And he definitely regrets the way that things ended. I don't know if Sally is going to take him back, but I'm thinking she probably will. And just a side note, it was really good to see Eric on my screen again. Love Eric. John McCook is the best. Now, let's talk about Zoe, Shauna, and Flo. Wow. Zoe actually tried to deny the truth at first. Are you kidding me? What a bitch. Really, Zoe? Please go back to England or to jail or anywhere but LA. I bet Shauna is really regretting giving her daughter such bad advice now. And these three are scared and they deserve what they get. I feel like somehow they will evade jail time, but they definitely deserve all of this and more. I cannot wait to see what Hope has in store for these three. Now let's talk about Ridge. I really feel for Ridge because he loves all three of these women, Steffy, Hope, and Brooke. So his emotions are all over the place. He's happy for Brooke and Hope, but at the same time he's devastated for Steffy and worried about Thomas. I would hate to be in his position right now. I genuinely do feel very bad for him because it would be very hard to watch one daughter miserable and the other daughter happy. It's so hard. Like, I just feel for him. And now he has to deal with the whole Thomas is nuts. Okay? Thomas went off the deep end and now he also has that to deal with. And Taylor is nowhere to be found. She's completely MIA in Africa somewhere. So I do feel for Ridge. Now, let's talk about Liam for a minute. Finally, for once, Liam is picking a side, so to speak. I feel that he's definitely going to go back to Hope. And it's killing him to hurt Steffy. But Beth is their daughter. And Hope deserves to have her baby back. Period. I feel bad for Steffy, but it's unfair to Hope. It really is. And I loved the fight between Liam and Thomas. It was awesome. Mainly because Liam is usually a very non-violent person. But he really let Thomas have it on that roof. And I loved it. I really loved the football tackle because I was not expecting that. It was great. Now let's talk about Steffy because I feel really horrible for Steffy. I can't even begin to know what it would feel like to lose my child. Unbearable, I'm sure. But it's not nearly as bad as thinking that your child is dead. Steffy can go to Hope's and see Beth whenever she wants. She needs to do the right thing. As hard as it may be, she needs to give Hope her baby back. It's just that simple. Now, let's talk about Hope for a second. I think Hope handled everything so well, way better than I expected. I love that she was very understanding and trying to be very thoughtful of Steffy's feelings. But also, I love that she finally put her foot down and told them that she's taking her baby home. She told everyone, that's it, I'm done, I'm taking my baby home. And I agree, Hope needs to take Beth home. She's already lost months with her. Months with her. Hope deserves to have her daughter. Steffy has a daughter, and Hope deserves to have her daughter. I just wish that for one to be happy, the other one didn't have to be miserable. But in the grand scheme of things, Steffy can always adopt another child. She can always babysit Beth. She can go to Hope's whenever she wants and see her. I realize it's hard, but she has to do the right thing. There's no other option. Not to mention, she has absolutely no legal right. None of the paperwork is valid or even legal. Like, she has no legal right to the child. She has to give Beth back. It's that simple. It's sad, but it's true. And that brings us to the end of the episode. I would love to hear what you guys think about all of this. Please send me your comments, your feedback, your predictions. I want to know what you guys think. You can get in touch with me at theboldandbeautifulpodcast.com. I'm also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email me at amanda@theboldandbeautifulpodcast.com. If you listen on iTunes, please give me a 5-star rating and a review. It helps the podcast to be seen by more people, and it helps on the business side. I love you guys, and I'm so happy that the truth is out. I will be back in your ears next week. Until then, bye guys.